Wednesday on this Sunrise Extra. And this is going to be kind of the start of our transition time from smoke and fires. We are seeing some, good news from the fire lines of getting some containment numbers on some of these big fires. We've heard some causes on the other. A campfire not properly put out in Washington County that started that Chehalem Bald Peak fire. But first, everyone is talking about the smoke no matter where you live. Let's get the latest, at least for today on this Wednesday, from Rod.
Well, today we're either going to be just where we were yesterday, or I think it's more likely we'll be a little worse in terms of the air quality numbers. The warning is still in place. The air quality number is deteriorating a little bit, and I'll get to why I think that. Take a look outside, very smoky. And again, also some foggy conditions, but the fog is being formed in part because of all the particulates that the smoke is throwing into the air, if you will. 56 degrees is the temperature outside. So the air quality basically is not going to improve unless we get a lot of wind or we get some rain. Let's start with the rain forecast, right? This is tomorrow evening at 9:30. So again, the rain forecast for the valley, basically tomorrow evening it starts through Friday, and maybe a little bit of light rain even Saturday morning before it ends. Now these bright colors are downpours tomorrow evening. There could be some thunder and lightning mixed in, but lightning isn't that big of a deal as long as it's in the middle of a big time downpour, and we think that will be the case tomorrow night if in fact we see some lightning strikes. And what's great about this, the movement of these rainy areas coming up from south to north, and the futurecast is correct, the heaviest rains are kind of channeling and hugging the west slope of the Cascades. Well, that's where the fires are, right? So that would be great news. Estacada could get dumped on with big time rain.
Nice.
The Beachy Creek fire area and also the Riverside fire area. So that would be just fantastic. And then that finally comes to an end, as I mentioned, the rain chance Saturday morning. So one more map. What does that do for the air quality? Well, today it looks like, believe it or not, the smoke thick cloud cover up top could actually be worse or thicker than it was 24 hours ago, which is why I'm thinking maybe our air quality numbers will actually, after improving in some spots yesterday, worsen again today. And not much improvement during the day tomorrow. But then comes the rain. And then we start to see the air quality mix out. And what you're looking at here, and this is really interesting to see, I'll go ahead and play this into Sunday at noon. But for the first time, we're seeing that thick smoke, the big magenta color has just been blanketing much of our state. That totally gets sheared apart, and the smoke just gets blown out to the east, and it gets lifted up higher into the atmosphere and gets thinner and thinner. And finally, I think it's safe to say, finally this weekend, we will be completely finished with that stagnant smoke plume, if you will, that's just been on top of us. And all the days moving forward will at least be better, and maybe no air quality warnings at all.
Wow, he's getting animated. I like it. I like it.
We were all saying hallelujah when we heard that yesterday, that things were going to be improving by the weekend, which is the perfect segue to you, Drew, the hallelujah, and then the church. I guess you're taking us to church. You're at Hope City in Milwaukie, right? Which is an evacuation center for some folks.
Yes. Yeah, the Clackamas County designated Hope City Church here in Milwaukie as an official evacuation shelter for people and families. And we met one of those families this morning during the Sunrise TV show. 5 members of this extended family of 10 still with me this morning here at Hope City Church. We have the twin girls who are 10 years old. We have the young man who is 16, grandchildren of this woman, Vicky. That is her daughter, Cherie. And again, this is just half of the family that is staying here right now. There are 5 others, and they have 5 pets, 3 dogs and 2 cats. All 15 of these mammals, if you will, have been... I was trying to put one word to describe the 15 of them. That's the only... Matt, could you come up with a better word, Vicki?
Scientifically correct.
Family.
Continue.
Okay. Family would have worked too. That would have been nice because the pets are considered part of the family. A little less scientific. But you've been out of your homes now since last Tuesday. We're talking about you and your son who live in Molalla, and your daughter and her family who live in Mulino. So at one point it was just we needed to get away from the fire danger.
Right.
That took you to Hood River.
Right.
Tell me about those nights in Hood River because you were spending those nights in your car.
Yes, we actually, all of us had just blankets that we had pulled out of the house, and it was cold. It wasn't quite enough. We had our cars to protect us from the rain, but it wasn't enough to keep us warm.
How many nights there did you spend?
2.
So the second night when it was really cold, were you at a breaking point? What were you thinking at that point? How are we going to get through this? What's next? Kind of just take us back to that night.
Exactly. We thought, well, what do we do now? We need to be able to help each other. So we just decided that we'd start calling and seeing if we could get a hotel. There's no hotels, no nothing, no RVs, nothing. So we headed toward Oregon City, and we stopped at Clackamas Community Mall.
Town center there, yeah. And we were there yesterday morning. Clackamas Town Center also set up as an evacuation site for families, but you're not getting, shelter there, so to speak. You're still in your cars at that point.
Right.
4 cars, 10 people, 5 pets. It really is incredible to think about under those circumstances. So at what point did you get the news that we could come here to this church?
After the night. It was, we went, they actually had showers there. So we actually had a shower.
Okay.
And then somebody came up and said, hey, there's a church that is willing to help us. And so would you be willing to go? And I said, yes. And so I went over to the family and told them about it. And they were all willing to move with me.
Okay. Jeremiah is the oldest of 6 kids, 6 of your grandchildren, but I know you have 15 altogether, but there are 6 of your grandkids who are here with you at the church, the twin girls and Jeremiah. So I'm thinking from a 16-year-old standpoint, you've spent all these nights in the cars, here at the church. What's been the most challenging part for you? Can I put that in your lap there? Most challenging?
The most challenging was not knowing what to do next, and also trying to make sure that everybody's all right.
Were you ever scared? Did you notice your sister, some of your younger siblings being scared?
They were kind of scared. I'm all right, but just knowing that our house was all right, putting God first was the most important thing.
And let's talk about the homes, because you've been keeping an eye on that,
Right.
and the homes are okay.
Yes.
But still not ideal to live in right now because
Correct.
of what?
Well, one, my home doesn't have electric. When the storm was hit, it hit the power line and broke it. So the PGA is working as hard as it can.
And that's
I know
back
that.
last Monday during that
Yes.
windstorm.
Yes, and so I have no power there. But it's just amazing that everything is still there.
But no power, still smoke filled.
Right.
Do you guys have any idea when you might be able to return home? When are you thinking about getting home? Cherie, I've been keeping the mic away from you because you said, hey, point that at my son and my mom, but don't point it at me. But now I'm looking at you and I think you're ready to speak.
Well, we're hoping to go back tonight, maybe tomorrow morning, depending on what the weather looks like, because our air conditioner is not working. So ventilation for my 6 kids, because they can't go outside. So just making sure that they can be able to breathe and still be good with it.
I imagine when you've been that night, for example, at the Clackamas Town Center, you met some other families going through some similar situations. And thankfully, again, like you mentioned, that your homes are still standing, and we're very grateful for that. We shared the other story this morning about the family we met yesterday in Estacada who had lost their home, and they finally had a chance to go back there yesterday, and they returned to their property, but they have no home to return to, and they still remain so positive. We were inspired by the positivity of that family. Everyone's staying so positive. Girls, from what I understand, you're not missing school right now, right? Classes have been canceled, the online distance learning. Have you missed any school this week that you know of?
No.
So you don't feel like you're falling behind your classmates?
No.
Do you two always agree on everything?
No. No.
3 for 3, though, on these questions this morning. And I do want to give some love to the church here. Because, like I said, the county, Clackamas County, designated Hope City Church here in Milwaukie as an official evacuation shelter for families like the Singletaries that need it. But all around us, this room filled with clothes. There's another room that's filled with food. They've also had a lot of toys donated, and these donated items came from members of the community who heard there was a need, and they delivered, especially over the weekend. The pastor here was telling me most of this came over like a 5-hour span, and they received so much. It was overwhelming, and now they're hoping not to receive so much anymore, but now they really just want to give out. And literally, the pastor was telling me, if there's a family that needs anything, if it's a sweatshirt, if it's a case of bottled water, they have those things here right now. So if you're a family affected by these fires, living anywhere, but specifically if you're nearby here in Clackamas County, contact the church. And they said it's as easy as coming by here between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. There's always going to be someone here. Let them know what you need, and there's a good chance if it's some sort of clothing or food or a toy for a kid, they have it here. So it's been really cool to see the church and then really the community stepping up to help others. Not to put you on the spot, but any takeaways, because I'm sure this is a week you will never forget, a week unlike any other that you've ever lived through. Is there anything you learned over the last 7 days, having gone through this with your family?
Our family's strong, and they are very supportive, and we are knit together, and God is our head.
Maybe the strongest of all being the 16-year-old kid who's made of steel, right?
Yes.
They are the Singletary family, guys. I've enjoyed spending my morning with them out here in Milwaukee. You were actually finally getting some nights of at least half decent sleep, and then the TV guys showed up and said, could you please join us starting at 5:30? Yeah, sorry about that, but we really... What's that?
That's all right.
Oh, thank you.
I'm used to it.
I appreciate that, young man. We're going to let them go back and have their own morning, though, gang. So thank you so much, Singletaries.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear from them. And we've been hearing from so many people who've just been sharing, little thank yous that can really go a long way, and shout outs to all of our wildfire heroes. And, we had listed as like, shout out a firefighter or someone who's working on the lines, but there's so many people, just regular folks who've come out to really help, as you see at that church and yesterday at the Salvation Army site at Clackamas Town Center. So now we're calling them wildfire heroes. And this one from T and J Getton, we want to thank Oregon Equestrian and West Lynn for opening their facility to stall the many horses, goats, alpacas in danger. They supplied food, water, and shelter free of charge. Their generosity saved the lives of our 2 horses and many others. We love hearing stuff like that. Estella says, I want to thank each and every one of them, but especially my son, Angel Cuesta Torres with the National Guard, who is fighting the Archie Creek fire. That's awesome. Thank you. Haley says she wants to thank all of them, but especially her brother, Cameron.
Nice.
That's awesome. Dan says George and Shelley Hinderleiter and Haley Minsker of the Clark County Saddle Club for coordinating and leading the effort to house over 140 horses that were evacuated. It is just amazing to hear of all of these stories. There's so many animals in these rural areas that have had to get out. So you can text us a little story or a picture or a thank you, 503-226-5088. We monitor those all during the day. Or if it's easier, go onto our KGW app. Download that, and then there's a little Near Me tab on the bottom right. Click that, and you can upload your photo, and it kind of pops up, and you can see other posts and photos from your neighbors in your neighborhood that have tagged that location. So
we're going to keep sharing these, so keep them coming. We want to hear from you and see what you have here. I'm looking on the stream, our Facebook stream, and one of our regulars, Jennifer Taft, good morning to you, says, as she was listening to the family that Drew was talking to, she says, I'm not crying, you're crying. That's how I felt all morning long. Nina and I were talking during the Sunrise newscast, and we were looking at a firefighter who was taking us back into his home in Detroit, and it was gone, and his neighbor's house was gone. And he was just looking at this beautiful place that used to be, and he was just kind of reminiscing and saying at the very end, I'm sorry. I mean, he was crying. And Nina, we were talking about when you see a man's man.
These big, burly, no nonsense, like tough fire. I mean, he's a fire boss, out on the line. Yeah.
Right? Guys who never break down. When they break down, it just totally gets you.
Yeah, and we have, I was just going through our YouTube, we have a whole playlist of some of these fabulous, stories that people wanted to share, of what those feelings are like. And when they drive in, when you're just like hoping and praying, and then you see that, your life's work, everything that you've, money and tears and back pain. And the guy just said 4 days before the fire finished this brand new beautiful deck. They could look out and see the wildlife. That's why folks live there, and it was all gone. And so we have a lot of those stories that are really worth a watch at our KGW YouTube page. One of our producers, I was going in the newsroom, and that Alameda fire down in Ashland, it is 100% contained now. That's great.
Great news.
But they've gotten a new number, and they're up to 2,300 homes destroyed now in the Alameda fire. And we're just going to be hearing, these numbers kind of go up and up as we get closer, as crews actually get closer to some of these towns.
I mean, look at that, evacuation routes.
I cannot imagine.
This is the dash cam video from where? Which one is it, Director Brian? Is this down south in Ashland? He's looking, but I'm telling you, just hearing harrowing stories.
That might be
Holiday
that Holiday Farm fire.
in Lane County.
Can you imagine how white knuckle you'd be?
No.
I mean, would you be crying, driving through this?
Well, that's what
just
one of the women who escaped one of these fires down south said. Her partner was driving and she said, I was just crying, hysterically crying the entire time, as you would be. Rod, let's bring you back in as we look at these pictures, because I'm telling you, the good news, better news with the forecast cannot come soon enough. I mean, that is going to help big time.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Wasn't it Morgan Romero's story where she told how the firefighters rescued that group of people that were back around Detroit Lake? Am I thinking right? And that story was amazing. I mean, safe to say those firefighters, every single one of them, risked their own lives to hold a line that they hope would hold while they got those people out. I mean, just amazing. We haven't showed you the 7-day, and the big story at the 7-day is I really think confidence is getting to be pretty high right now that we will, come this weekend, be done with this whole bad air quality issue. Now, obviously, these fires continue to burn, and they'll continue to put smoke in the air for weeks and weeks to come. But in terms of just the horrendous, hazardous air quality readings that we've had, we think we're finally going to be done with that once we get the rain that comes in tomorrow overnight, Friday, and maybe a shower Saturday morning. Then after that, we go dry the rest of Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And there's actually more rain developing the following Wednesday of next week into Thursday, which would be good news too. But just imagine if we actually get the blue sky that we think we will this coming Sunday, and there are no air quality warnings in play, which there may not be.
Crossing
and that
my
we truly will be
fingers.
finished with at least this part of the story. Yeah, that would be kind of uplifting in itself, right?
Yeah, we've been hearing of all kinds of things. I mean, it's affecting, COVID test results. Some of these, drive-up clinics are not operating now because it's just too smoky for, those healthcare workers to be standing out there. And so it's going to be kind of make a backlog for these test results and everything down to the minutia things of your Amazon delivery, is going to be delayed. They have that thing up on the metro area, Amazon page of, their deliveries, and truck drivers are taking it easy more while this smoke is around because they're outside a lot.
Have we shown the Northwest Response Fund yet this morning? Because I think that's really
no,
important.
not in this show. Yeah,
a
let's
lot
do
of
it.
people have been, reaching out and wanting to find a way to help. So when this all started, KGW started this Northwest Response Fund. There are a couple of ways that you can get involved. You can just seriously just text us the word relief to 503-226-5088, and we'll send you a link to the Red Cross. And I think the cool thing about this literally is that the money stays here in Oregon and Washington. Again, you can also go to kgw.com/Red Cross for the same deal, but it's so important if you're able. And if you're not able to give monetarily, why not just share this? Put it on one of your social media pages and just help us spread the word so we can help our neighbors all around the state.
I love it. We got an email from the Red Cross director last night saying, I know a lot of people, they want to know where this money is going, and rightly so. And so he rattled off a list of, they have 7 Red Cross shelters and evacuation sites throughout the state. What would it be? So they sent this on Tuesday. Monday night, they hosted about 300 people in a Red Cross shelter and about 2,300 more in hotels, which are paid for by these donations. They're free to those evacuees staying there. They've given 23,000 meals through the Red Cross to evacuees from the fires, and they, register people like, are you safe? Or family from out of state can't get a hold of you, or cell phone service is down. They're also providing, free campsites for RVs and ready-to-eat meals and cots and blankets and all that stuff. So real tangible, ways that your dollars are going to help. So thank you so much. All right, you guys, let's hope for this promised rain and all of the smoke to get out of here, and we will see you tomorrow. You guys be well.